Ghost Mother. I found that the frequency of all kinds of supernatural events in the countryside is much higher than in the cities. Perhaps because the cities are crowded with traffic, and the yang and evil chi are mixed with the smell and haze up. This story is also an old story from his childhood when I was chatting with my husband. It is said that there is a woman in their village whose son is just over 2 years old. One day, while doing housework at home, he was accidentally electrocuted due to aging wires and leakage. She died in the kitchen of her house. And when her man came home from work, his body was cold and hard. About a year after the woman left, the man married another daughter-in-law. The new daughter-in-law is from a neighboring village, much younger than the man, and she is still a first married yellow flower girl. Who would have thought that something evil would happen on the wedding night? The two newlyweds sent off the guests, and were about to turn off the lights and prepare for bed, when a new kettle placed on the bedside table suddenly exploded with a bang, which made the two of them frightened, and all interest was lost for a while. The small days after marriage are as plain as water, and the stepwife treats the man's son as her own and takes care of it meticulously. The only fly in the ointment is that strange things always come to their house one after another. For example, the stepwife makes a fire at home to cook, but the fire is not lit in the stove, and it is not possible to change a few sets of chopping wood. In desperation, the stepwife called the neighbor, and the family was gone. Another time, my wife was watching TV in the hall, and the faucet in the yard was turned on for no reason, and there was a lot of water. The stepwife went out and closed it. But before the person walked back to the hall, the faucet turned on by itself again. The list goes on and on. One night, my stepwife saw a woman in her 30s standing at the head of the bed, glaring at her viciously, "You shameless fox. Come down for me." As he spoke, he pulled his stepwife off the bed. The stepwife fell to the ground and woke up. Everything just now turned out to be a dream. But when I looked around, I was really lying on the ground, and my knee was bruised, which showed that I really fell from the bed. The stepwife vaguely guessed that the woman in the dream was the ex-wife of her husband's deceased, and she always felt weird in her heart. One night not long after, the stepwife suddenly woke up and saw a woman with bulging eyes hanging from the roof. The stepwife recognized that it was the woman who dragged her off the kang not long ago. She wanted to shout, but she couldn't. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move like a ghost. Seeing the woman on the roof getting closer and closer, closer and closer. At this time, blood began to flow from the woman's eyes, and a drop of blood fell on the left side of his wife's face, and she finally woke up with a scream. Another nightmare. Early the next morning, when my stepwife got up, she felt that the left side of her face was burning and painful. Quickly picked up the mirror and looked at it. And the place where the blood from the woman's eyes was flowing in the dream was a coin-sized sore. And the pus and water were terrible. After this, his wife couldn't stand it at all, and she packed up her things and prepared to divorce a man. And she couldn't live this kind of frightened life. Just as the stepwife pulled the box out of the courtyard gate, the man's youngest son chased him all the way out. The child tugged at the corner of her clothes and asked her timidly, "Auntie, are you going? I'll go too. You take me with you." The stepwife's heart tightened. She took the child's hand, choked up and said, "Auntie is gone. You follow your father well, obedient." The little boy burst into tears and shouted, "I don't want my aunt to leave. I don't want to ask my aunt to leave Tilda." The stepwife held the child in her arms, and at the same time solemnly decided one thing in her heart. Early the next morning, the stepwife took the man and the child to the grave of the ex-wife. She reverently put 3 sticks of incense, and said, "Sister, I know that you are young and unwilling. And I also understand that you can't rest assured that the child is young. Today, my sister swore in front of your grave that this baby will be my own baby in the future. Even if my sister gives birth to more babies in the future, he is also the dearest one." After saying that, he knelt in front of the grave and kowtowed 3 times. And the man and the child were all weeping silently. Since then, the man and his stepwife have lived peacefully until they are old. And nothing strange has happened. The stepwife kept her promise to raise her ex-wife's son and train him to become a talent. A few years ago, after graduating from a prestigious school, that child went to work in a large ministry in Beijing. And my husband even invited him to have dinner with him. There are many emotions that can pass through yin and yang in the world. But the most strong and lasting one is the deep affection between mother and son. The deceased mother stayed in the world because she was reluctant to give up her young son, and was finally moved by the kindness of her stepwife, and let go of her obsession and hatred. All causes and conditions are born from thirst and love. The thousands of upside-down and surging appearances in the world are no match for the word love. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and put notification on to watch more videos. If you have similar experience as per the story, please comment and let me know, how was your experience?